It was a bright and sunny morning. The sky was clear, and the sun was shining high. Today was a special day because my family and I were going to the beach. I was so excited that I woke up early, even before my alarm rang. I quickly dressed in my favorite blue t-shirt and shorts, ready for the day ahead. My mom was in the kitchen, preparing sandwiches and snacks for our picnic. I could smell the fresh bread and the sweet scent of strawberries as she packed everything into a big basket. My dad was in the garage, getting our beach umbrella and chairs. He always made sure we had everything we needed for a perfect day by the sea. When we were finally ready, we all got into the car. I sat in the back seat, looking out the window as we drove to the beach. The road was long, but I didn't mind. I was thinking about all the fun things we would do once we got there. I could already imagine the sound of the waves crashing onto the shore and the feel of the soft sand between my toes. After what felt like a short drive, we arrived at the beach. The sight of the ocean was breathtaking. The water was a deep blue, and the waves were gently rolling in. The beach was wide and sandy, with a few people already there, enjoying the sun. We found a nice spot near the water, where my dad set up the umbrella and chairs. My mom laid out a big blanket on the sand, and we all sat down. I couldn't wait to start exploring, so I quickly took off my shoes and ran towards the water. The sand was warm under my feet, and as I got closer to the water, it became cooler and wetter. The first wave that touched my toes made me laugh. It was cold, but it felt nice. I walked along the shore, letting the waves wash over my feet. As I walked, I noticed something shiny in the sand. I bent down to pick it up and found a beautiful seashell. It was white with pink stripes and had a spiral shape. I had never seen a shell like this before. I held it up to my ear, just like my mom had shown me, and listened carefully. I could hear the soft sound of the ocean inside the shell. It was like a little secret that the sea was sharing with me. I decided to collect more shells, so I walked further down the beach, keeping my eyes on the sand. I found shells of all shapes and sizes, some were smooth, others were rough, and each one had different colors. I even found a shell that looked like a tiny fan. It was my favorite. After a while, I went back to where my parents were sitting. My mom smiled when she saw all the shells I had collected. She said they were beautiful and that I had a good eye for finding special things. We decided to make a small collection of shells to take home. We would put them in a jar, and every time we looked at them, we would remember our day by the sea. Next, my dad suggested we build a sandcastle. I loved building sandcastles. We started by digging a big hole in the sand to make the base. The sand was soft and easy to dig, and soon we had a large mound of sand ready to shape into a castle. We used our hands to pat the sand down, making it smooth and firm. Then, we used small buckets and shovels to build the towers and walls. My dad showed me how to make the towers tall and strong by packing the sand tightly into the bucket before turning it over. We made 4 towers, one on each corner of the castle, and connected them with walls. To decorate our castle, we used some of the shells I had collected. We placed them on the walls and towers, making our castle look like it was made of jewels. It was the best sandcastle I had ever built. As we finished our castle, I noticed the tide was coming in. The waves were getting closer to our castle, and I knew it wouldn't last long. But that was okay. Part of the fun was watching the waves slowly wash the sand away. It reminded me that nothing lasts forever, and that made the time we spent building the castle even more special. After playing in the sand, it was time for lunch. My mom unpacked the picnic basket and laid out the food on the blanket. We had sandwiches, fruit, and cold drinks. Everything tasted so good, especially with the salty sea breeze in the air. We sat together, eating and talking, and I felt so happy to be with my family on such a perfect day. When we were done eating, my dad suggested we go for a swim. The water looked so inviting, and I was excited to jump in. We walked to the edge of the sea, where the waves were gently lapping at the shore. My dad held my hand as we waded into the water. At first, the water was cool, but as we got used to it, it felt refreshing. We splashed and played in the shallow water, laughing and having fun. My dad showed me how to float on my back, letting the water hold me up as I looked up at the sky. It was such a peaceful feeling, floating there with the sound of the waves all around me. After swimming, we went back to our spot on the beach to dry off. The sun was still shining, and it quickly warmed us up. I lay down on the blanket, feeling the warmth of the sun on my skin and listening to the sound of the waves. I could have stayed there forever, just enjoying the moment. As the day went on, the beach started to get quieter. Some people were packing up and leaving, but we stayed a little longer. The sun was beginning to set, and the sky turned a beautiful shade of orange and pink. It was the perfect end to a perfect day. Before we left, I walked along the shore one last time. I found a few more shells to add to my collection, and I took a moment to look out at the ocean. I felt so lucky to have spent such a wonderful day by the sea, learning about the ocean, playing in the sand, and making memories with my family. Finally, it was time to go. We packed up our things and headed back to the car. As we drove home, I felt tired but happy. I knew that I would always remember this day and the special moments we shared. And as I drifted off to sleep that night, I dreamed of the ocean, the sound of the waves, and the feel of the sand beneath my feet. It was a day I would never forget. The end.